Hello, so we will now tackle about the relatively new accounting standard for revenues, which is the PFRS 15 revenues from contracts with customers. It was actually effected January 1, 2018. So, just roughly 2 to 3 years ago. Medyo bago pa tong standard na to. Ano ba yung sinasabi ni PFRS 15? Sabi niya lang, before we recognize revenue, we have to follow a 5-step model. So we'll have step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll go through these steps in the following slide. So first, step 1. Sabi niya, identify the contracts with the customer. So, ang sabi lang niya, before check mo muna yung contract mo with a customer. Dapat first, it should be approved by both parties, which is si seller saka si customer. Dapat approve niya yan. Dapat ba laging written yung approval ng contract mo? Not necessarily. It can be written, oral, or implied. Basta merong, according to our obligations and contracts, dapat merong meeting of minds dun sa both parties. Okay, the rights of both parties is identifiable in the contract. And then, alam mo yung payment terms and conditions, kailan kayo magbabayaran, magkano kayo magbabayaran. And the transaction, of course, should have commercial substance. Ano ba sinasabi ng commercial substance? Dapat daw the risk, timing, and amount of future cash flows ng entities na exchange dapat magbabago in the future. Isang typical example nung nagbago yung commercial substance, yun bang dalawang kotse, isang kotseng pula, isang kotseng dilaw, same model, same make, same lahat ng kotse, nagpalitan kayo. Does the transaction has commercial substance? Wala, kasi nagbago lang yung itsura ng asset mo. Pero yung risk, timing, and amount of future cash flows, di naman magbabago. So, dapat magbabago yung risk, timing, and amount for the transaction to have commercial substance. And lastly, collectibility. You have to assess. First, dapat meron kang ability or si buyer, meron siyang ability to pay. Second, may intention to pay. Hindi pwedeng kaya niya ngang magbayad, pero baka i-1, 2, 3 ka naman in the future. So, you can automatically recognize revenue for that. Second step, identify the specific performance obligation in the contract. Ano-ano ba yung mga dapat gawin ni seller para kay customer? So, a performance obligation is a promised good or service in the contract that is distinct. Dapat daw distinct siya. Kasi pwedeng madaming performance obligations in one contract. Pwede din namang multiple contracts, isa lang yung specific performance obligation. So, parang yung steps 1 and 2, they are interconnected. Tingnan natin ha. Paano mo malalaman kung distinct? Classic example, for example, si Globe. So, it's a telco company offering mobile services, network services. Kunwari may data plans. Tapos, sabi nga, di ba uso yun? Kunwari for a 36-month period, mag-subscribe ka dito sa plan na to. Tapos meron kang free handset. Meron kang libreng cellphone pag bumili ka ng plan, pag nag-subscribe ka ng plan. Ngayon, paano mo ititreat yung transaction yon? Kailangan ba magkahiwalay yung libreng cellphone saka yung network plan? Tingnan mo muna. Yun bang cellphone magagamit mo without the SIM card? Yes, you can use other SIM cards. Yun bang SIM card magagamit mo nang walang cellphone? Yes, kasi pwede mo siyang ilagay sa ibang cellphones. Yun yung sinasabi sa number 1. The customer must be able to benefit from the good or service either on its own or together with other readily available resources. So you can actually use the SIM card, which is yung may network services, and the handset separately with the use of other readily available resources. So number 2, the good or service is separately identifiable. So makikita mo within the context of the contract na, okay, pwedeng hiwalay mo gamitin, pwedeng magkaiba sila. So in this example, we have 2 performance obligations. Number 1 is to deliver the handset to the customer. And then number 2, to deliver network services every month. So dalawa sila. Okay. Step number 3, determine the transaction price. In most cases, madali lang yan eh. kung ano, punta ka sa department store, tingnan mo yung tag price, that's the transaction price. Sabi natin, it is the amount of consideration to which an entity expects to be entitled in exchange for transferring promised goods or services to a customer, excluding amounts collected on behalf of third parties. Alisin mo lang yung significant financing component. For example, it's payable on a later date, tas more than 1 year, i-present value mo siya. That's the transaction price. Ang problema mo, the special cases arise when you have variable consideration. Variable consideration is examples, performance bonuses, penalties, discounts, rebates, refunds, credits, price concessions, incentives, and customers' right to return products. In all these examples, meron kang uncertain na ma-receive na amount or pwedeng hindi mo ma-receive na amount or other considerations in the contract. In that case, sabi ni PFRS 15, you can use the expected value method or the most likely amount. Just make sure that the revenue will not reverse in the future. That this is highly probable that the revenue will not reverse in the future. This is actually the first time na ginamit ng accounting standard yung term na highly probable. Diba? Usually, ang ginagamit lang possible, probable. Ito talaga sabi nga highly probable. So, dapat halos sure ka na yung i-recognize mong revenue, hindi siya ma-reverse in the future. Otherwise, you have to defer revenue recognition. Step number 3, allocate transaction price. So, kung marami kang separate performance obligation, allocate it based on the stand-alone selling price. So, kunin mo yung total transaction price, hati-hatiin mo sila sa lahat ng separate performance obligations in the contract based on stand-alone selling price. So, how do you determine stand-alone selling price? You can use the adjusted market assessment approach, cost margin, or residual approach, depending on what's readily available and what's more clearly determinable. Okay, example ulit, yung tuloy natin yung handset, saka yung SIM card, yung network services. Johnny enters into a 12-month telecom plan with a local mobile operator, ABC. The terms of the plan, si Johnny daw magbabayad ng monthly fee 100 pesos, and then Johnny will receive a free handset at the inception of the plan. ABC sells the handsets 300 and the same monthly prepayment plans without handset for 80 pesos per month. Allocate the transaction price. So, kunin mo yung standalone selling price ni handset, 300. Nung network services mo, 80 per month times 12 months, that's 960. Total of 1260. Then, in relation to the percentage of the standalone selling price, i-allocate mo yung total revenue mo na 1,200 computed as 100 per month na fixed fee times 12 months. So, you'll get handset, the standalone, the allocated transaction price is 285.60, and then the network services 914.40. Question, kailan mo i-recognize na revenue yung handset mo saka yung network services? To determine that, we'll go to step number 5. Recognize revenue as the entity satisfies a performance obligation. So you can recognize revenue either over time or at a point in time. When you say over time, pwedeng unti-unti. Alam mo yun, at each reporting date, you can assess kung magkano na yung revenue na pwede mong i-report. Pero pag point in time, usually kapag meron ka ng transfer of control, which may be at the end of the contract pa. So, sa overtime, unti-unti, habang umaandar yung kontrata mo, nag-recognize ka ng revenue. Sa point in time, at completion or at transfer of control, which may be at completion, which is dulo na siya. Kung ako si seller, so magre-report ako ng revenue, kailan ko ano yung gusto kong gamitin? Overtime or point in time? Siyempre, dun sa mas maaga, ako makaka-report ng revenue. Kaya, binigyan ng conditions ni PFRS 15. Dapat daw, before you can recognize revenue over time, hindi to option dapat makamit siya ng isa dito sa tatlong criteria. Kapag point in time naman, meron ka ng transfer of control. Okay. So, ano ba yung tatlong criteria na dapat kahit isa lang, ma-meet mo to recognize revenue over time. Tapos kapag wala kang na-meet dito sa tatlong criteria na to, definitely point in time ka na. So, pwede kang mag-overtime revenue recognition kapag first criteria, customer simultaneously receives and consumes the benefits provided by the entity's performance. Example, dun sa handset ulit, saka yung cellphone. Diba, kapag nag-subscribe ka ng plan, bibigyan ka ng cellphone. Tapos, every month, bibigyan ka ng load. Hindi ka naman bibigyan ng load sa dulo eh. Sa end ng contract eh. Bibigyan ka ng load every month, over time. Tapos, yung load na yun, pwede mo siyang gamitin. Kailan? Sa dulo ba ng kontrata? Hindi rin. Every time. Every month, kung monthly yung subscription mo. So, the customer simultaneously receives and consumes the benefits provided by the entity's performance. So, every month, nagpapadala ng load, every month nare-receive at nagbe-benefit sa customer doon. Definitely, you can recognize that over a period of time. So, yun yung sa network services natin. Doon sa mobile plan, pwede mo siyang overtime revenue recognition. Second criteria, entity's performance creates or enhances an asset that the customer consumes or controls as the asset is created or enhanced. Example, magpaparenovate ka ng bahay. Sino yung may control ng lupa? Sa nung asset na yon? Ikaw. Pero sino yung nagpa-perform? Sino yung nag-create or nag-enhance ng bahay mo? Si contractor. In that case, the entity's performance creates or enhances an asset that the customer controls. Ang may control si customer. So, in that case, pwede kang mag-overtime revenue recognition. And then lastly, the entity's performance does not create an asset with an alternative use to the entity, and the entity has an enforceable right to payment. A typical example of this is yung mga customized goods. Diba? Kapag customized goods, ano yun? Kapag customized goods, wala namang alternative. Tas walang alternative. Hindi siya generally available in the market. Walang alternative use kay contractor, kay manufacturer, kay seller. So, definitely, tapos pwede mo siyang i-bill anytime kasi nag-order siya, evidenced by a purchase order. So, you can use overtime revenue recognition. Kapag wala kang na-meet dun sa tatlo na yun, you'll use point in time. So, usually, kapag na-deliver mo na yung control or na-transfer mo na yung control to the customer. So, that's it. If you have question, please do let me know. Thank you.